Hello, I'm Casey.
And I'm Fallon.
And this is
Render the Darkness.
I gotta find something else to do. I'm just not inspired by the. I'm just not inspired by it. I gotta find something inspirational.
Understand?
Something that really draws people in, other than my hands. I have weird hands. That's the thing. I don't like my hands. Anyway, I'll come up with something.
Okay.
We'll be our own unique individuals.
Yeah.
Until then, here's your fun fact.
Fun fact.
An avalanche can travel up to 80 miles an hour.
That's
a lot.
Really fast.
It is really fast. Probably not outrunning that.
No. Don't see that happening.
No, me neither.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and warn you. I did it again. Yes.
Why? A deal is a deal is a deal until it's not a deal.
I know, but there's so much information in here that I feel like I need to add it and not keep it out. So this is going to be 2 parts.
So she said that last time.
It's just 2 parts.
I don't believe her. Don't believe her.
Do not lie.
She lies like a dog.
You know
and like a rug. I know there's other ones.
Okay. Alright, so this episode is about the murder of Larry McNabney. Sorry, Nabney. Golly. It's already starting off bad.
Poor Larry.
Larry McNabney. Sorry. Now, this is the second case out of California in our 50-state series. I was able to get a lot of information from a book called Cold Blooded, a true story of love, lies, greed, and murder by Carol Smith, as well as some other sources. But if you would like to know more information, more details, please get this book. I will link it in the show notes. Larry was born on December 19th, 1948, to James and Marie Alice Williams. He had 2 brothers, James Lawrence and James Lloyd. Now, there's not a lot known about his early childhood, only that his father went to war, and when he came back, he was a different person.
Just so I'm understanding what you just read, they named 2 of their sons James?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. They really liked the name.
Then that's the dad's name?
Yes.
So there were 3 Jameses in the house?
Yes.
So did they just call them by their middle names?
Didn't say.
Were they like James number 1, James number 2? Because what would you do in that situation? You'd have 2 James Juniors. But they're not really juniors because they don't have the exact same name. I've never heard of somebody naming 2 of their children the same name.
Well, I mean, maybe they do go by their middle name. Like, they would call one Lawrence and one Lloyd, maybe?
If that's the case, why wouldn't you just make that their first names and James their middle names?
Good question. I don't have the answer.
That's fascinating to me. I've never heard anybody do that. I've never heard anybody like, you know what? Name them all James.
Except for Larry.
And maybe that's what it, poor little Larry. He had it rough right off the rip. He was the only not James in the house.
His dad, whenever he came back from the war, he actually became an alcoholic. And on the outside, their life seemed to have been pretty good. But on the inside, he was very strict, difficult, and very intolerant with his wife and kids, which led to a very restrained relationship with their father. Now, Larry went to school at Mount Rose, and because his father made it apparent that they needed to be excellent in their academic and athletic performances, he felt that he had to live up to those standards to make his dad proud.
Where's Mount Rose?
I didn't put it in there, did I? I want to say it's in... Oh, dang it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't put it in there. Where is it? I can't look it up on my phone because... Yeah, so...
I'll look it up.
That was my bad. I did not put that in there.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I feel like it's important for our viewers to know that was strictly me just being a dick, because I can see her screen and I can clearly see she didn't have it in there, but she always asks me. She too can see my screen, and she always asks me a question that I clearly do not have in the notes. She hits me with that question every time. So I saw an opportunity and I took it.
Okay,
I'm sorry I did that on Larry's case. I don't know what's going to happen in this case. I'm not reading ahead, I'm following along. But I just want to say that was strictly me being an asshole and seizing a moment because she does it to me every single time.
well,
I'll be like, the flowers were on the porch. And then I'll roll into the next sentence. She'll say, what kind of flowers were they? I don't know, Fallon. I didn't put that in.
well, see, the difference is whenever, you're doing yours, I don't actually read what you're doing.
Maybe you should.
Maybe
you wouldn't ask so many of those questions.
Yeah, maybe I should. Okay.
See, I like to follow along because it would be creepy if I just sat here and stared at the camera the whole time. So I follow along so that my eyeballs have something to do other than this. So.
Okay, so that was creepy. I don't do that.
Well, how would anybody know? Nobody can see your face. You may be doing that. You're doing it right now.
No, I'm looking at you. Okay,
okay, I'm sorry. I will not interrupt anymore.
I
apologize.
That was my fault.
What was the name of the movie? I don't know, Fallon. It's not in the notes, is it?
I think somebody's a little sore on that. Okay, so now when Larry was a senior, he met Donna Paganine. Now, she came from a very loving and close family, which is opposite to how Larry grew up. They started dating in 1966, and after graduating, they were engaged. Now, their families were not very happy about the announcement. Donna's dad thought that Larry was stuck up in a way that was almost rude. And Larry's dad thought that the engagement was just Larry trying to be rebellious, so he wasn't too fond of Donna. Now, Donna would say later that, quote, I was scared to death of him.
Of Larry's dad?
Yes. Now, after graduation, Larry enrolled in business at the University of Nevada, Reno. Donnie and Larry were finally married at the end of that year at the university, or the end of that first year at the university. Now, 1 year later, wow, I don't know what happened there. 1 year later, Donna became pregnant, and in July of 1968, she gave birth to their daughter. Unfortunately, by the end of the 1960s, Donna felt that she had made a mistake marrying Larry. Her family was spontaneous and loved to laugh and have a good time together, and Larry felt very uncomfortable around them. When things got tough in their marriage, Donna could rely on her family, and there were times when things did get tough. Like his father, Larry started to drink, and when he did, he became mean and would start insulting Donna, and she didn't like it very much.
No, most women don't.
No. Larry graduated from UNR in 1970, and he was accepted at McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento, California. Larry moved the family in August of that year so he could get ready for his classes. Donna would later say, quote, by that time I knew it wasn't going to work and I missed my family. So Donna would move back to Reno several weeks later and she would file for divorce, and on September 22nd they were officially divorced.
I don't know why I said most women don't. Most people don't, because, men don't like it either.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have said women, I should have said people. So.
On October 6, 1973, Larry married Jo Dean Cotton, who also had a daughter that was the same age as Larry's. In June 1974, Larry graduated law school almost at the top of his class and started to get ready to take the bar exam in Nevada and California. The next year, he was clerkship in the Reno District Court, and once he passed the bar, he started as a juvenile deputy in Washoe County Public Defender's Office. In 1977, he left there and joined Ron J. Bath, and they started a partnership. Bath would later talk about how Larry was an easy person to like, but that he did have a problem with drinking and substance abuse. In 1979, they bought a mansion at the intersection of Sierra Street and California Avenue. They started remodeling the building to put offices in. And the two men really only handled criminal cases at first. Some were to do with drugs, some were to do with gambling charges. Then they started to get involved with murder cases and would get about 5 to 6 of those a year. During the times, and it may still be that way now, I don't really know, the prosecution and defenders would eat together a lot and have a social life outside of work together.
Okay.
They would go out for drinks, and they would often stand up for each other if someone started talking down to one of them. Larry's drinking and substance abuse continued, and a lot of the times the other lawyers would cover for him if things got bad. In 1982, Larry and Jodi's marriage began to crumble. They had a pretty bad divorce and they were fighting over who would get what property, and unfortunately, Larry's drinking had gotten worse as well.
Uh-oh.
And while he was still fighting with Jodi in 1983, Larry fell in love and married Gail June Fredericks on March 1st. In June of 1983, Larry and Jodi finally reached an agreement on the property. Now, little did he know that 2,000 miles away, a young woman named Lauren Renee Sims would change everything in his life. So, let's talk a little bit about Lauren. She was born on January 20th, 1966, to Jesse and Jackie Sims in, hopefully I say this correctly, Attleboro, Bristol County, Massachusetts. Again, there really isn't much known about her early childhood, basically because her parents wanted it like that. What we do know is that her family moved to Brooksville and her brothers opened a manufacturing company called Sims Machine and Controls. The business began to grow and they became socially and politically distinguished throughout the community. The family soon moved into an upper middle class house northeast of Brooksville. And the only interview that Lauren's parents would give, which was to Jamie Jones of the St. Petersburg Times, said that they would say, quote, Lauren's life seemed to change and she began to make some wrong choices. Now, Jones' explanation would suggest that some of those choices started when she was in high school at Hernando High, where she started to drink with some of the boys. She would spend weekends hanging out at Pine Island, which was a secluded area on the coast. She dropped out of school during her last year in May of 1984 and married Virgil Scott Jordan. It's not really all that clear on how the two met, but it is said that they met at a dance in Florida during the spring. Jamie Jones would say he got the information about the marriage from Jackie Sims, but the state's record only shows one license that was received on May 12, 1984. In Jackson County in North Florida. In January of the next year, they had a daughter, and it's not known, again, exactly what happened, but not too long after the birth of the daughter, Lauren and Scott were divorced, and she went back to Hernando County with the baby. And she would start to date a man in Brooksville and soon became pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy on March 17, 1986. Early the next year, that relationship fell apart, and she wanted child support. So in June 1988, an agreement was made, and she would receive $165 a month and $750 for her lawyer's fee. Now, she would finish her education by getting her GED and would go to college and get her dental technician certificate. Now, her bad decisions would only get worse from here. She would start to take things that belonged to people that she was in an argument with, which most of those items didn't have any real value. It was just more of a slap in the face to the person that she took it from. One of her first run-ins with the law was when she stole a $5 hair dyeing kit in 1988 in St. Petersburg, which she was given a fine and probation for.
I wonder what that would cost now.
No, I don't know. I thought about doing the,
like the comparison.
Yeah, but I was like, I just didn't. That fall, she took some ceramic flowers and a telephone from a neighbor's house that she was having a problem with. The next month, she broke into her boyfriend's ex-wife's home and took an answering machine, jewelry, clothes, a musical instrument, and an all-terrain vehicle. She would claim that she did it to make her boyfriend happy, not because she wanted any of the items.
So she's a little bit of a klepto.
Yes. Now, her boyfriend was banned from the property, so he convinced her to go and get the stuff for him.
So she says.
Yes. Now, she was arrested for the theft, and a lawyer hired by her family struck a deal with the Florida State Attorney's Office. She would plead guilty to two burglaries, grand theft, and petty theft, and the stolen property charges would be dismissed. Now, for not getting any more jail time, she would pay restitution to the victims of the sum of $1,184, and she would be on probation for 5 years, and that would stack onto the 3-year probation from the hair dye arrest. She also had to pay $500 in court costs, and the judge wished her luck.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards for Lauren, because by May, she didn't have any money, so she started to write bad checks for food, necessities, and clothes. When she started to feel down, she would go on shopping sprees.
So Lauren didn't learn a damn thing.
No, Lauren didn't learn nothing. Now, she was going to counseling to get help with her problems of anxiety and depression, and again, no one really knows when, but that ended at some point, and her mental health was starting to decline. Between the months of May and June of 1989, she had written 18 bad checks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which was definitely a violation of her probation.
Absolutely.
Now, during all of this, her landlord threw her out of her home and would claim later that she stole $1,300 worth of fixtures and furnishings from the building. In the winter of 1992 to 1993, Larry decided that he wanted to earn money and become famous at the same time. He wanted to create a law firm where he could outsource cases to other lawyers, and they in turn would pay him for those cases.
Okay.
Now, in the spring of 1995, Larry McNabney and Associates tried to get into the market in Las Vegas for new clients. Around the same time, he met a woman and quickly fell in love. Now, because Larry's firm was doing so well, he went back to drinking and using substances.
Larry.
He began renting a very fancy place and using his own money and the money he received from settlements, he would use to lease a jet to move from location to location, which showed people how much money that he had.
Larry was a baller.
He was. Now, the new office in Las Vegas was a beautiful building. It had a state-of-the-art network system. He had leased all new furniture and even had a large aquarium as a divider between the foyer and the staff desks.
Oh, I bet that was pretty.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. Now, at this time, the office needed to hire a manager. Many people applied, and one of those people was Elisa Riddlesberger. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce that. Now, at this time, it had been 9 months since she divorced Kenneth, which she had married in May of 1994. Now, it's not known what she had been doing during those 9 months, but something that she was probably in Florida, where she was using her real name, Lauren Jordan, which I will still call her because she used a lot of aliases throughout her life.
Okay.
Now, as soon as Larry met her, he was captivated and hired her as the manager. He was amazed at how smart she was by the amount of energy she had and how easily she was able to understand the bottom line economics of personal injury law. He also really liked how she could figure out what a case would be worth, how much she could obtain from the insurance company, and how fast she could get that money.
Because she's a con artist.
Yeah. Another thing that he really liked about her was that she was a risk taker, and that made her all the more attractive to him. The most important thing was that she had the same dry, sarcastic, and cynical humor that he did. He also thought that they were made for each other, and she made him feel alive, something that he hadn't felt for a long time.
Aw, poor Larry.
Now, he could also tell that she was a dangerous person, and that was a huge part of the attraction as well. Within days, she had moved in with Larry, and he rented matching 1995 Jaguars for him. He would take her all over town, showing her off to everyone, telling them how smart she was.
Okay.
In the later part of July, the bookkeeper at the Las Vegas location quit. So Lauren took over the position and the job to pay the bills and write checks. By August, she had money management control over all three of the offices.
That's not good.
No.
Oh, Larry. He's putting your trust in a snake.
In September, he named her chief operating officer of Larry McNabney and Associates with the power over his general account, his client trust account,
Oh, no.
and his personal account.
Oh, Larry. Why? He's a lawyer. Did he not do any kind of like a background check on this lady?
I guess not. You figured he would, but he was really.
I mean, obviously, he's kind of a womanizer, and he's really all about the ladies. I get that part.
Yeah, it doesn't take him long to fall head over heels for somebody.
He becomes very enamored very quickly, but at this point, he's been through several relationships, so you'd think he would be doing all of his due diligence before committing to anything, let alone giving her access to his client's money. I mean, it's one thing if you lose your own money. It's another thing if you lose your client's money.
Yep. Yeah,
Making some poor choices. You're not thinking with the right head, Larry.
No. She then started to take over the Reno office, and Larry would tell the employees that from now on, she was the boss. Towards the end of the summer, with all the financial responsibilities tied to McNabney and the associates, and the couple spending a lot of money on personal things, they started running into some money problems.
Go figure.
In September of 1995, Larry was having a hard time paying for their advertising, and even though he knew of the financial trouble, he couldn't seem to stop spending money. At one point, he took all of his employees to Acapulco, Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah, and they all stayed at a very high-end hotel.
Oh.
Now, because of this, Larry decided to mainly focus on Reno and Elko. He then decided to kick Cheryl and her daughter out of their home and move Lauren and her daughter in, leaving, yeah, leaving Cheryl heartbroken over the action. Now, it was said that Larry was looking out for Larry, and so what he wanted was a top priority.
I could see that, yeah. Seems like that's the case for sure.
Now, the Reno employees were having a Christmas party in December, and the accountant at the office went to talk to Jeffrey Moore. Now, she asked him how bad of a legal issue would it be if checks were bouncing that were being written from the client's trust accounts.
Ah, Lauren.
Now, he didn't have his license yet, but he would disclose that it would be a huge problem because that money was the client's money, and no one should be using it unless to hand over settlements or reimbursing the firm with the client's consent, and that people could definitely go to jail over it.
Uh-oh. You done messed up, Lauren.
Now, Moore decided to look at the problem closer, and he noticed that Lauren had been using the client's trust account to purchase things that were not approved. One of the checks that bounced was written out for an American quarter horse.
What? What's she buying a horse for?
He knew that her and her daughter loved horses.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Now, the question was whether he should tell Larry and how he would react to the news.
Tell Larry. Why is that a question? Tell Larry.
Yeah, I guess he's just probably worried, that he might not believe him.
You're a lawyer. Go get the evidence and take it to him and put it in front of him.
Yeah. Now,
that's all they know is paperwork and documentation.
Right, yeah. Now, after a few days, Moore decided to call Pete Durney and let him know what he had found out on Sunday, December 17th. Now, he chose Pete because he was a close friend of Larry's. Now, Pete got a hold of Tom Brennan, who was another close friend of Larry's, and they went to the couple's home on that same day to tell him about the trust. Now, he couldn't believe that Lauren would do such a thing, but with two of his closest friends telling him that she did, he had no choice but to confront her in front of the men. At first, she got really angry with him for accusing her of such a thing.
Of course.
But she would eventually admit that she had been moving money around from accounts and turning it into cash. But she wasn't really sure how much it had been.
Go figure.
Yeah. Now, Lauren ended up leaving and went to stay at a friend's house for a while. Larry would tell Moore how much he appreciated him catching the problem. And Lauren would actually end up calling Moore and saying, quote, "Thanks a lot," with a pretty angry tone.
Okay.
So, not to make this too awfully long, this is where I'm going to leave you on part 1. So
Larry makes bad decisions, and Lauren's a piece of crap. That's what we're ending with?
Yeah. He definitely was, made some bad decisions, for sure, and yes, Lauren is just a terrible human being.
Do you think he would make those same bad decisions if his name was James?
Probably. I'm going to say probably.
I don't feel like I'm being insensitive at this point because so far we're getting into the story, but nothing has actually happened to Larry yet other than his poor decision making.
Right.
And I'm not, I don't know what's going to happen in part 2, but since it is titled The Murder of Larry McNabney, I'm going to assume he gets murdered at some point. So I just want to state for the record that if it seemed as though I was being insensitive in this case, it was not my intention to do so in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
Also, I did not mean that all lawyers know is documentation. Obviously, that was just the way that I worded it. Lawyers know way more than I could ever know.
Lawyers know a lot.
Yeah, lawyers are genius people. I did not mean to say it the way that I said it. I didn't mean it the way that I said it. I just meant that's what they're the most familiar with. That's what they deal with the most. It's a common thing for them to
do.
Sure. That's all I meant. Don't come at me.
And I'm wondering if maybe all the bad decisions he's making with Lauren is maybe he's trying to seek some kind of validation, maybe.
Maybe.
But sorry if you hear that. There is
the wind right now is insane. I don't know what's happening, but we've got 30-mile-an-hour winds right now, and it's a sunny, clear day. It's 80 degrees.
Yeah, it's nice out, except for that part.
But the wind is just going nuts out there. So if y'all heard any rattling or knocking or anything like that throughout the episode, that was the wind.
Yes.
But part 1 started out very interesting. I'm intrigued. I would like to hear your part 2.
Yeah.
It would have been even better if you just like read it all at once and did it all consecutive.
Well, if I would have done that, it probably would have been like, you know, an hour
Part of the deal.
to an hour 15 to an hour and a half long. So that's why I decided to break it into, you know, a small segment, because I know I can make the next one the same length, and then again, my voice won't get all weird, because you see, my voice didn't get as weird.
That's your opinion. Ow! I didn't smack.
You're being mean.
Sisterly love.
Yep, sisterly love.
That's the best I've ever heard you sing. Good job.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Sorry, I'm very tired, so I'm a little goofy on this one. I apologize for that. But will not apologize for how much we appreciate you guys.
Very, 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 very
Endless
much.
appreciation to our listeners, to our followers. If you like what we're doing, as always, please subscribe if you haven't. YouTube channel, Render the Darkness Pod. Any other places that you get your podcasts, you can follow us on that, like it, share it, get the word out. Help us grow. Help us blossom. Blossom. We want to grow together.
Yes.
Same to all the other creators out there. If you're listening, if you're watching, if you come across this episode by chance, we want to grow together. If you want somebody to help you, support you, help you grow, we're all about it. Send us your channel. We'll subscribe.
Yep.
Yeah. If anybody has any case recommendations for any other states besides California that you would like to hear, that's not too late, you can get them in. We'd be more than happy to hear it. We would love to do case recommendations for... It doesn't even have to be United States related. If you send it to us, we'll put it on a list and we will get it done. I promise.
I have to sneak one in there, be like, from Australia. Bonus episode.
New Zealand, wherever. Yeah. Ireland. We'll do it.
I don't know why I just said Australia first. It just first one coming to mind.
I know.
I really like Australia. Yeah. Like everywhere else, too. But the two places that I really want to go, I'm sure you don't really care to hear about it, but I'm going to tell you anyway, is Australia and Ireland. Yeah.
Well, now we know that. Bonus fun fact. But yeah, like I said, we appreciate your time. We know how precious it is, so thank you guys very much. We really appreciate it. And other than that, we are
Render the Darkness.